You know, sometimes God starts moving in your life in ways that don't make sense, not to them, not even to you, and people try to hide what God's doing. They try to cover it up, explain it away, act like it's not happening. But I came to tell somebody today they can't hide it anymore, because when God decides it's your season, when He says now, no devil in hell, no rumor, no delay, no doubt can stop what He's releasing in your life. See, some of you have been waiting, wondering, when is it going to happen for me? And God sent me to tell you, it's happening right now, not next week, not when you feel ready, not when everybody agrees. Now somebody shout, it's happening now. Because when God flips the switch, the things that were hidden are about to be revealed. The doors that were shut are about to swing open. The blessings that were buried are about to break through. When God begins something in your life, He rarely starts it in the spotlight. He doesn't begin with applause or cameras. He starts in the dark. He starts in obscurity, because God does His best work in hidden places. You might not see it, others might not believe it, but that doesn't mean He's not moving. God plants His promises deep, like a seed beneath the soil, and if you judge the seed too early, you'll think nothing is happening. You'll think the silence means absence, but what you can't see is the preparation. What you can't see is the formation. Before there's ever a platform, there's a process. Before there's ever a revelation, there's a hidden season of transformation. Some of you are in that hidden place right now. You're working, you're praying, you're believing, and it feels like nobody notices. It feels like what God promised isn't showing up. But God is saying, don't confuse hidden with forgotten. Just because it's unseen doesn't mean it's undone. God hides things not to withhold them, but to develop them. He hides greatness so it won't be destroyed by exposure too soon. He hides calling so it can grow roots before it bears fruit. When God starts something in secret, He's not holding you back. He's setting you up. Think about David. Before he ever stood before Goliath, he was alone in a field tending sheep. Nobody was clapping for him out there. Nobody saw him fighting off lions and bears, but God saw. God was training him in private for a public victory. The oil was already on his life before anybody knew his name. And when the time was right, God revealed what had been growing in secret all along. That's what God does. He takes what's hidden and reveals it in power. When the moment of manifestation comes, it's undeniable. Nobody can take credit for it. Nobody can explain it away, because it was God the whole time. Some of you have been asking God, when is it going to happen? And God's answer is, when it's ready. Not when people recognize you, not when you feel confident enough, but when the seed I planted in you has matured enough to carry the weight of what I'm about to reveal. You see, premature revelation can destroy purpose. God will never reveal what He knows you're not yet prepared to sustain, so He hides it. He hides you, and the hiding is not punishment, it's protection. The hidden place is not a prison, it's a proving ground. You're not being overlooked, you're being prepared. When the moment of revelation comes, it happens suddenly. The same people who said nothing was happening will see everything happening at once, and they'll wonder how it all came together so fast. But you'll know the truth, it didn't happen overnight. It was happening the whole time. The power was being built in silence. The anointing was growing in obscurity. The seed was taking root beneath the surface, and when God said, now, it broke through the ground with undeniable evidence of His hand on your life. So if you're in that hidden season, don't despise it. Don't rush it. Don't compare your process to someone else's platform. God is still writing your story, and when He reveals it, it won't be small, it won't be quiet, it won't be something you have to explain or defend. What God starts in secret, He reveals in power. The very thing they couldn't see will be the thing they can't ignore. And when it happens, it won't just be proof of your potential, it'll be proof of His promise. Delay is not denial, it's divine preparation. It's one of the hardest truths to accept, because when God gives you a promise, something inside you expects it to happen right away. You start praying, planning, believing, and then you wait. You wait longer than you thought you would. You watch others move ahead while you're still standing still. You wonder if you heard God wrong, if you missed your moment, if maybe the door has closed for good. But what looks like delay is often the exact space God uses to develop the strength, character, and wisdom you'll need when the promise finally unfolds. God isn't saying no, He's saying not yet. The pause isn't punishment, it's positioning. He's not denying your destiny, He's defining it in the waiting. Because every delay in God's timeline is loaded with purpose. When you read the Bible, you see this pattern again and again. God gives Abraham a promise, but it takes decades before Isaac arrives. Joseph dreams of influence, but he spends years in pits and prisons before stepping into the palace. David is anointed as king, but he goes back to tending sheep while Saul still sits on the throne. These stories remind us that waiting seasons are not wasted seasons. God isn't ignoring you. He's preparing you. He's using the delay to stretch your faith and mature your perspective. You're not just waiting on the promise. The promise is waiting on you to be ready for it. God's timing is never off. What feels like a setback is actually set up. The delay is the space between the promise and the power, and it's where God does His deepest work in the waiting. God tests your motive. Are you serving Him for the blessing or because you trust His heart? When things don't move as quickly as you want, that's where faith gets real. Anyone can praise when progress is visible, but true faith is built when you can't see the finish line. It's in that tension where God strengthens your roots, so you won't be shaken when the fruit finally appears. If He gave it too soon, it might crush you. If He released it before you were ready, it might fade away. So instead of seeing delay as rejection, start seeing it as refinement. God is pruning you, shaping you, stripping away what can't go with you into the next level. The longer the delay, the deeper the foundation He's laying beneath the surface. Sometimes God will let doors stay closed, not because you're unworthy, but because you're not yet equipped for what's behind them. He's teaching you how to handle the blessing before He gives it. He's aligning resources, relationships, and opportunities that you can't yet see. There's a timing to everything in God's kingdom, and when that timing hits, everything makes sense. You'll look back and realize the delay was actually mercy. If God had answered every prayer the way you wanted, you wouldn't have been ready for the weight of the answer. He held it back not to hurt you, but to help you grow. Delay doesn't mean God forgot. It means He's faithful enough to finish what He started in you the right way, so don't give up in the waiting room. Don't walk away just because the timeline doesn't match your expectation. God's silence doesn't mean absence, and His delay doesn't mean denial. He's setting the stage, not shutting the door. When the fullness of time comes, the thing you've been believing for will arrive so perfectly, so powerfully, that you'll know it was worth every second of waiting. The delay was never wasted. It was divine preparation for what's about to break forth, and when it does, it'll happen suddenly, but it won't have been sudden to God. He's been preparing you all along, and now the wait will make sense. You don't have to prove what God's about to reveal. That's one of the hardest lessons to learn when you feel unseen, underestimated, or misunderstood. There's something in human nature that wants validation. You want people to see what God has placed inside you, to recognize your calling, your effort, your growth. But the truth is, the more you try to prove it, the more you drain yourself chasing approval that was never meant to sustain you. God didn't call you to prove yourself. He called you to prepare yourself. The evidence of His hand on your life will speak louder than your explanations ever could. When the time comes, what He's been doing in you will be so undeniable that you won't have to convince anyone. The fruit will reveal what words never could. It's easy to get caught up in trying to make people understand your purpose. You try to explain why you're different, why you're waiting, why you're moving in obedience even when it doesn't make sense to others. But you don't have to justify the process when you trust the one who's guiding it. People might question your choices now, but they'll see the reason later. God's timing always brings clarity. The ones who doubted you will witness the very thing they said would never happen. You don't have to defend yourself when God is your defender. He's the one who promotes, the one who vindicates, the one who reveals what he's been building in silence. If you waste your energy trying to prove something prematurely, you'll step out of alignment with the process meant to prepare you for what's next. Think about Jesus. He didn't spend his ministry trying to prove his divinity. He just kept walking in obedience. When people questioned him, when they mocked him, when they accused him, he didn't argue. He kept fulfilling his Father's will. And in the end, the resurrection spoke louder than any defense ever could. The proof wasn't in his words, it was in the power. That's what God wants to do in your life. He wants to reveal his work in you in such a way that the results speak for themselves. The more you let him shape you quietly, the stronger your testimony will sound when it finally echoes publicly. When it's God's time, he'll make sure the right people see it, the right doors open, and the right voices confirm it. There's something freeing about realizing you don't have to prove what God is preparing. It takes the pressure off. You don't need everyone's approval. You don't need to post every progress moment or announce every vision. Some things grow best in silence. When you stop striving for recognition, you make room for revelation. You make space for God to do it his way, because if you have to prove it, you'll also have to sustain it. And that's a burden too heavy to carry. But when God reveals it, he sustains it with his power. The blessing that comes from him carries no sorrow because you didn't manipulate it or manufacture it. You trusted him to manifest it. Sometimes God hides your progress on purpose. He lets you walk through seasons where people misjudge you, so he can teach you to depend on his voice above theirs. It's not that they're wrong, it's that they're not meant to understand yet. Some people can't see your calling because they're not assigned to confirm it. Let them talk, let them guess, let them doubt. You keep walking, you keep praying, you keep building in silence. When the time is right, what God has been forming in the dark will shine in the light. And when that happens, you won't need to say, "I told you so." The presence of God in your life will be the only proof necessary, so breathe. You don't need to rush the reveal or defend the delay. You don't have to prove what God's about to reveal. Stay faithful, stay hidden, stay humble. Because when God finally pulls back the curtain, the same people who questioned you will have no choice but to acknowledge that it was him all along. Hidden seasons build public strength. Those are the moments no one claps for, the moments that feel lonely, quiet, and unseen. They're the seasons where you're doing the work behind the curtain, wondering if it even matters, wondering if anyone will ever notice. But that's exactly where God does his best building. When no one's watching, he's strengthening what the spotlight can't sustain. When no one's cheering, he's developing the discipline, the endurance, and the humility you'll need for the stage he's preparing. Everyone loves the reveal, but few understand the power of the hidden season. It's where you're trained to carry what you've been called to. It's where you learn to depend on God more than validation, to seek his approval more than attention. Think about an athlete training before the game. The crowd only sees the highlight reel, but the strength comes from the sweat no one saw. It's the early mornings, the silent sacrifices, the moments of frustration that forge resilience. That's what God does with your faith. He builds it when no one else can see the process. He stretches you in the dark so you won't break in the light. You might feel like you're being overlooked, but in truth, you're being overhauled. God is working on your foundation because he knows what kind of weight he's about to place on it. If the root system isn't strong, the fruit won't last. The hidden season isn't punishment, it's preparation. It's where strength grows in silence and confidence grows through consistency. David knew this kind of season well. Before he ever picked up a sword, he picked up a shepherd's staff. Before he faced Goliath, he faced lions and bears. Those quiet battles in the field were building something in him that the crowd couldn't see. Nobody was writing songs about him back then. Nobody was posting about his victories. But when the moment came, what had been built in private gave him the strength to stand in public. That's the pattern of God. He never wastes obscurity. He uses it to shape warriors. He uses it to sharpen voices. He uses it to solidify faith. By the time he reveals you, the pressure won't break you because you've already been tested where no one was looking. The hidden season also teaches you dependence. When you don't have applause to fuel you, you learn to run on assignment. You start to recognize the voice of God more clearly because there's less noise around you. You start to value faithfulness over fame, obedience over opportunity. God's goal isn't to make you visible, it's to make you unshakable, and that kind of strength can only be built in the quiet places. It's not glamorous, but it's necessary. When the time comes and doors start opening, you'll walk through them with humility instead of pride, with gratitude instead of entitlement, because you'll remember the days when nobody believed in you. But God to the hidden season is where God builds character to match your calling. It's where He removes the parts of you that can't carry what's next. It's where He grows the patience, the integrity, and the faith you'll need to stand when the platform finally comes. Public moments are born out of private surrender. You can't skip the process and expect to stand strong in the promise. God loves you too much to expose you before you're ready. So if you feel hidden right now, don't despise it. You're not being buried, you're being planted. Strength is growing in the soil of silence, and when the time is right, the same God who hid you will reveal you. Only this time, you won't just be visible, you'll be strong enough to last when God says now. No one can say, not yet. There comes a moment in every believer's life when divine timing collides with destiny, and nothing and no one can stand in the way of what God has ordained. You may have been waiting, praying, enduring long seasons of silence, and wondering if God has forgotten you. You've seen doors close, people walk away, and opportunities slip through your fingers, but when God declares that it's your time, everything changes. The same people who said you weren't ready will have to watch as God elevates you. The same situations that once resisted you will begin to align in your favor. When God speaks a word over your life, His authority overrides every opposition, every delay, every denial. His now doesn't ask for permission. It establishes purpose. You see, God's timing is not like ours. We measure moments by clocks and calendars, but He measures them by calling and completion. What looks late to us is perfectly aligned to Him. He doesn't rush, and He doesn't hesitate. When He says now, it's because everything that needed to be developed in you has reached maturity. You've gone through the pruning, the preparation, the process, and He knows you're ready for what's next. All the waiting, the tears, the disappointments, they weren't wasted. They were shaping you for this divine intersection where heaven's timing meets your obedience. That's why when the moment comes, it feels sudden, but it's not sudden to God. He's been orchestrating it all along, positioning you, protecting you, preparing you when God says now. Even the things that once resisted you start to make way. Remember when the Red Sea stood in front of Moses and the Israelites? To the natural eye, it was impossible. But when God said now, the sea had no choice but to part. When it's your time, obstacles become open doors. When it's your time, what was once blocked becomes a passage. People might try to hold you back, systems might try to contain you, and fear might try to silence you. But when God's command is released, no opposition can stop it. His word is not a suggestion, it's a decree. And when the King of Kings declares something, every lesser voice must fall silent. The truth is, sometimes God delays the now moment to test your trust. Will you keep walking even when it feels like nothing is happening? Will you stay faithful when it looks like everyone else is moving forward without you? Because when you keep showing up, when you keep believing, when you keep obeying even without evidence, you position yourself for acceleration. God can do in one moment what you've been trying to make happen for years. He can open doors that no man can shut. He can bring restoration so complete that it erases the years of waiting. When He moves, it's not gradual. It's sudden, decisive, unstoppable, and when that now comes, you won't have to push it, prove it, or promote it. The grace of God will carry it. The favor of God will confirm it. The anointing will announce it for you. Everything that's been dormant will come to life. Every promise that seemed delayed will spring forward. Every seed you sowed in tears will start producing in abundance. What once seemed impossible will suddenly become inevitable because God's timing has arrived. So don't lose heart in the waiting. Stay faithful, stay ready, and stay in position, because when God says now, every not yet spoken over your life loses its power. The doors that were closed will open, the answers that were silent will speak, and the very thing you've been praying for will stand right in front of you, undeniable and unstoppable, all because God said now. What was concealed is about to be confirmed. God has a way of taking things that were hidden, overlooked, or misunderstood, and bringing them into the light at just the right time. There are seasons when it feels like nothing is happening, when the things you've prayed for and believed in seem buried beneath disappointment or delay. You've carried promises quietly, dreams nobody else could see, and faith that sometimes felt foolish. But God says, I haven't forgotten what I placed inside you. I've been developing it in the dark so that when I reveal it, everyone will know it was me. What's been concealed isn't lost, it's being positioned for confirmation. The things you thought were hidden are about to be highlighted by the hand of God. There's a divine pattern to how God works. He conceals before he reveals. Every masterpiece begins in mystery. Seeds grow in soil before they break through the surface. Jesus himself lived 30 hidden years before 3 years of public ministry. The miracles didn't start in crowds. They started in quiet moments of obedience. That's how God moves. He hides his greatest work until the moment when it can't be denied. The promise doesn't die in the dark, it develops there. So if you've been feeling unseen, unknown, or unappreciated, you're in good company. The greatest callings are often confirmed after a season of concealment. God lets people overlook you so that when he elevates you, they'll know it wasn't the result of popularity or human promotion. It was divine confirmation. The truth is, you don't need everyone to believe in you right now. You just need to believe in what God said, because when the time comes, the evidence will speak for itself. Every hidden prayer, every quiet sacrifice, every tear shed in secret will be seen. God is a God who rewards what's done in private. When he brings it into the open, it won't be a small moment. It will be unmistakable proof that his promise was true all along. The same people who questioned your faith will see the fulfillment of it. The same ones who doubted your purpose will watch God confirm it. You won't have to explain yourself or prove your worth. The fruit will make the roots undeniable. God's confirmation doesn't need your defense. It carries its own authority. Sometimes the waiting feels unfair because you see others being revealed while you're still being refined. But God's confirmation has perfect timing. He's not late, he's deliberate. He waits until the conditions are right, until the environment can handle the weight of what he's about to release. If he revealed you too soon, the world might mishandle what he's been shaping in you. Concealment is not rejection, it's protection. God shields what's sacred until it's strong enough to stand. You might be hidden, but you're not forgotten. You might be delayed, but you're not denied. You're being positioned for a moment when everything clicks, when everything makes sense, when everything that was concealed suddenly bursts into confirmation, and when that moment comes, it will be undeniable. Doors will open that no one can close. Opportunities will appear out of nowhere. The favor of God will surround you so visibly that people will ask, "How did this happen?" And your only answer will be, "God did it." The concealment will make the confirmation even more powerful because it will carry a story of endurance, faith, and trust. You'll realize that the darkness was necessary, that the hidden years were not wasted, but were the foundation of your strength. What was once invisible will become irresistible. The same God who covered you in silence will now crown you in significance. What was concealed is about to be confirmed, and when it happens, it won't just validate your faith. It will magnify his faithfulness.